guys, welcome to my kitchen. Today I am going to be showing you how to make savory ground beef and mushroom hand pies. These make excellent lunches or a fun dinner, so I hope you'll enjoy this recipe. What I have going here is I put about a tablespoon of butter in my saute pan and about 2 small onions, and I've got those cooked to a nice almost, well, not quite caramelized, but they're starting to get brown, so that's good. Now I'm going to add in about 1.5 pounds, of ground beef. All right, so I've got my ground beef in here, and we're just going to break that up and let that cook. Meanwhile, I've got my oven preheated to 425 degrees, and I have a batch of my pie crust, my food processor pie crust, in the refrigerator resting right now. We're going to cook up this filling while it rests, and then we'll bring that out, roll it out, and I'll show you how to make the actual hand pies. The food processor pie crust video will be linked below for you, so you can go over and check that out. The only thing that I did different that you might notice today from the recipe that I posted was I did add in an herb blend into it so that it will be a nice herby crust. So my ground beef is mostly cooked through now, which is excellent. What I'm going to do at this point is go ahead and put in most of my seasonings. So what we're going to be using for seasoning today, salt and pepper, as always. Good sprinkle of salt, about a teaspoon probably. A teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of black pepper. I'm going to be using about a 1/4 teaspoon of allspice, just to give it that nice little depth. We're also going to be using about a 1/4 teaspoon of celery seed. And if you don't have celery seed, that is perfectly fine. You can leave that out. Some garlic powder, about half a teaspoon's worth, and half a teaspoon of onion powder, a little bit of parsley. Also at this point, I'm going to add in just a little bit of chopped celery that I have, about a 1/4 cup. You don't have to do the chopped celery, that is completely optional, but it's going to give it a nice little crunch in there. You know, as it bakes, a lot of this is going to not be crunchy, so that's going to give us a nice little textural element in there. So now with our spices in there, what I'm going to do is grab some flour. And what I like to do, basically this is making a roux, but it's making it a very not traditional way. I'm going to sprinkle my flour, probably about 2 tablespoons, over top of my beef, and just let all of that beef fat soak this up. It's looking like I might need a little bit more flour. The reason I like to do it this way in this particular recipe is I like to keep a good handle on my filling level. Since it's going into the hand pies, I want it to be saucy, kind of like a gravy, but also at the same time not be overly saucy. So I like to keep the beef in here at this point because of that, because I can keep a closer eye on my sauce to beef ratio. But if you prefer to take out the beef, or your pan just isn't big enough to hold it in there at the same time, you can absolutely take that out and just do a regular roux. At this point, I am adding my mushrooms in here. And we're going to let the mushrooms release a little bit of water. Mushrooms are mostly water, so we're going to let them just cook down a little bit before we add anything else. I've let this cook for a little bit. The mushrooms haven't gone down a whole lot, but they have gone down some. I'm gonna go ahead and add in the next couple of ingredients, and that is going to be some Worcestershire sauce. This is gonna give us that hearty, beefy flavor in here. And then this is a wonderful little secret ingredient, this Gravy Master. It's a browning liquid, so it's phenomenal to add to gravies, as the name implies. It gives you that really deep umami flavor, like that caramelized kind of flavor, and very, very concentrated and very, very beefy, and it's just amazing. And it's only about $2 or $3 a bottle. It is amazing. I absolutely recommend it if you are into making things like this, really nice, hearty, beefy sauces. You'll really love it if you have not tried it. So I'm gonna give this a smell now. It smells really, really good. Really, really good. And now what we're gonna do is start adding in some beef stock. Bone broth would be great in this application. Beef broth is fine. Even just water, but I do like having the extra flavor from the beef broth if you have it and if you have access to it. But as I said, we're going to keep a pretty close eye on this because we want it to have some sauciness, but we don't want it to be extremely saucy. Since it is a hand pie, it's going to be handheld, and we don't want our filling leaking out. Another thing too, if you find that you have added a little bit too much broth and it is a little bit soupier than you would like it to be, you can add some cornstarch in, teaspoon by teaspoon as needed, and just let that cook a little bit, and that will thicken it right up. Just a couple more things I want to get in here. So I have some herbs here. This is a blend of sage, thyme, and rosemary. You may know it as poultry blend. And if you don't already have this growing in your garden, that would be the easiest way to get all of these, is to just go over to the herbs section in your store and get some poultry blend. And it smells amazing. It already smells so good. Just finely chopped all those herbs. And the last thing, to give us a little bit more vegetables in here, I always like to keep a bag of frozen mixed vegetables. And if you are choosing to add your mixed vegetables, you'll want to kind of wait on putting the very last of your beef broth in, just because you may have some ice crystals that are going to give you a little bit more water content from this, and so you want to kind of wait and see what it looks like after you've got that in there. Now, if you are like me and do not have a ginormous cookie cutter, how are we going to get these to all look the same size? Well, for one thing, you don't have to make them all the same size. You can just cut this out with a pizza cutter or a knife, and they can be odd shapes. That's fine. It does not change how tasty they are. But for the sake of making everything look nice and uniform, I'm going to be using just a cereal bowl today, and just kind of using it sort of like a cookie cutter. Just gonna take some of our filling. You We don't want to take too much. Probably for this size one, probably about 2 tablespoons is all I'm really going to be able to fit in here. You can kind of play with this dough too. You can kind of, with your hand, stretch it out a little bit more as well. We're going to fold this over. I should have got myself a fork. So we can just do a nice little fork crimp on the side here. You do want to make sure it's completely sealed. So for our egg wash, we are going to use 1 egg, whisk that up a little bit, and 1 tablespoon of water. Whisk that all together. If you have it, grab a little pastry brush like this and just paint it with the egg wash. When it's baked, that's going to make it look really, really nice and shiny. All right, I'm going to finish these other 2 up, and then we're going to get this in the oven, and they'll probably be in there for about 30 to 35 minutes to get the dough cooked through. And here are our finished meat pies. These 2 are the ends of the dough that looked a little bit wonky. You can see where on these ones that had holes, some of the gravy leaked out and made them look a little bit dark, but they are going to be really, really tasty. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave me a like. It helps our channel. And if you have any questions for me about how to make these or anything, leave me a comment below. Thanks guys. Bye-bye.